Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I can't imagine that statement has come from Honorable Atadi. Why do you want to continue taking advantage of poor people? I wish you came to that hall and you see the kind of people who are there crying to our president. And that thing has come from the Western. And now you want to play politics in it? We are not going to allow that, Honorable Atadi. It's wrong. You must apologize. It's wrong. We are looking for money to help our coffee farmers, yet the president has gone out of his way to come and support farmers from Western. And here you are talking about the government taking advantage of poor farmers? It is unfortunate. Stop playing politics.
Honorable members, I would like to address the Honorable Atandi. First of all, you are disorderly. And in our standing order 107G, you are making allegations without, in the Speaker's opinion, adequate substantiation of your statements. Also in that standing order 107-2A, I would like to call upon you. I would like to just caution you. I'll caution you. I hope we just end it at that so that we can make progress on this important matter. So I'll caution you that please do not make any statements that you cannot substantiate. And now I order you to proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for protecting me from interferences by my colleagues. Madam Speaker, as you can see, I am a lone voice in this House against a battalion of government machineries who are not interested in hearing anything against...
I would like now to ask you to go to the motion of today.
So Madam Speaker, the point that I wanted to raise as I conclude is that this motion is very important, and we need to support this at the House and ensure that other than just repackaging sugar, which is imported, we need to stop this wanton importation of sugar. Because this wanton importation of sugar is the reason the political class is thriving. They import sugar, they sell, and then at the expense of our local farmers that are fighting, working very hard on the ground to survive. So, Madam Speaker, I support the motion, and thank you very much.
The Honorable Eric Karemba. Eric Muchangi. Sorry, Honorable members. The name of the Honorable member who is on his feet is the Honorable Eric Muchangi, member for Runyenjes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I wish to let you know that Karemba is still my name. It is my official name. So you are at liberty to refer me to as Karemba. It is not a nickname anymore. And Honorable Speaker, I wish to, from the onset, support the motion by the Honorable Salasia on the issue of repackaging sugar. And I believe his intention is to help and cushion the farmers, the sugar farmers, from his backyard. And Honorable Speaker, there is no point of importers bringing in sugar and then repackaging it, selling it in the name of Mumias and other renowned brands, and make a kill out of it. That brand, that Mumias brand, is a brand that belongs to the people of Western Kenya and Nyanza. So if an importer, a single person, or even a group of people who bring together resources, import sugar, and want to make money out of it, I believe this is something that needs to be discouraged. And Honorable Speaker, having said that, I also wish to tell the government of Kenya that the sugar is taken alongside coffee and tea. Yeah? Among other uses of sugar, sugar is taken together with tea and coffee. And while we appreciate the effort that is being put by the government of Kenya to ensure that the sugar farmers get income from the sugar farming, sugarcane farming, there is also need for the government of Kenya to move into action and save the coffee and tea farmers. And on the issue of privatization, there is a lot of misinformation that is coming in through this debate on privatization. And I believe, like the like it is said, that it is only a fool or a mad person who does the same thing all over again and expects different results. So I believe the idea of privatization, we are not privatizing sugar factories. Neither is land being privatized. It is the operations in these factories that is being privatized. Because all the other times, the management of these sugar factories have run down these institutions. So it is good that a different approach is acquired so that we see whether this can bring fruits. But as this is being done, it is important for the government of Kenya to remember that the coffee and tea farmers are waiting for their money. And the Honorable Speaker, I have seen and heard people celebrating the recent tea bonus payout and saying that it was high and it was the best. And I want to say that as a tea farmer and a leader who comes from the tea sector, our tea farmers expected much more from tea than they were able to get. And I believe that the government should move into action and cushion all these tea farmers and coffee farmers. For instance, the coffee has been in our stores for a couple of months. It has not been sold, and we believe that it is the same cartels, those that are in the sugar sector, those that are in the coffee sector, in the tea sector, that are holding our country ransom for by not buying our coffee like it has been bought previously. So I believe the effort towards fighting these cartels should continue so that our farmers can get the most out of it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable John Kerago, member for Limuru. I suggest that you move to the next microphone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I rise, I want to support this motion. And Madam Speaker, I'm one person who in my earlier days, I worked for Mumia Sugar when it was under Buka International. Madam Speaker, when we discuss about sugar sector, I think we must be serious. Madam Speaker, we know how serious government has been looking at this issue in terms of getting it working. But Speaker, I would like to bring to this House that the collapse of the sugar industry must also be seen to have been related to how the railways has been performing. Madam Speaker, when we concessioned the railways to the people, the cowboys who came to run it, the sugar industry started going down. Madam Speaker, I happen also to have worked for railways, and I know that in the railway central workshops, that's where we used to make the sugar rollers for the sugar industry, whether in Zoia, Mumias, Chemil, Sone. We used to make cane knives out of the worn out tires to ensure that the sugar industry is supported with the local spare parts. Madam Speaker, when we look at the sugar industry, it is important for us to be seen to be working towards being competitive with the rest of the region. I can say this without fear of any contradiction, that the cost of maintenance of our industries has always been a big challenge. We have given the industries to people who have been making money out of spare parts, out of services, so that even when they do the production, that cost element of maintaining the plant has always been the way of eating out the money, which actually should have gone to the farmers. So as we discuss this, and I support my friend, the member of Parliament, and Celicia, who is a very serious guy. serious person, Mheshimiwa. I know that your intention is good, but I also want to say this. Let's look at the nation and put together as mechanism, an engineering support mechanism, where most of these industries can actually be supported so that they run at economic level, which can also compete with the rest of the areas in the region. You cannot say, for example, that each one of these factories will have a foundry to cast their spare parts, that they must have a facility where they will be shrinking and deshelling their rollers. So what we need to do also, as we look at this sector, because it's important for all of us, that we make sure that in the farming area, whether it's the nuclear or the outgrowers, we make sure that we take the right steps to make sure that they are competitive in producing cane. But when it also comes to the factory, we make sure that the factories are being run properly. And there is a competitiveness in the way of sourcing for the spare parts and the maintenance services that go into them. We know that the spare parts that come from outside, like India, China, or Brazil, Madam Speaker, they are 3-4 times what the product would have been if it was being made here locally. So my appeal is that even as we are going to look at this issue of blending, making sure that the sugar coming from outside is not blended as being local, I also appeal that we also look to make sure that this industry is competitive. This industry, it is fair, because it is the public that has been supporting it. But Madam Speaker, we cannot allow that siphoning of the monies out of this sector goes to foreigners, which finally enriches a few. Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you very much. Honorable Eve Obara, member for Kabondo Kasipul.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice to the motion. At onset, let me say that I also support the motion. Madam Speaker, I want to say that it's an open secret that almost all the sugar factories in this country, and particularly I'm talking about the ones I'm aware of in the Western region, have collapsed. Madam Speaker, I can tell you that I was educated through the proceeds of the sugarcane. Madam Speaker, my parents are sugarcane farmers in the Muhoroni constituency region, and as I was growing up, this was a vibrant economy. There were so many people who were employed in this sugar factory. To mention some of them, Madam Speaker, we had Miwani within this region. We had Chemelil Sugar Company. We had the Muhoroni Sugar Company and the agrochemical company in Muhoroni. Further in the Western region, we had the Mumias. We also had the Sony Sugar. And all these factories were vibrant. If I pick out the Chemelil Sugar Company, Madam Speaker, many people were employed in this factory. In fact, Chemelil was way advanced in terms of even the kind of people who were there. Everything about Chemelil was affluence. It's a completely different story now. Madam Speaker, I support the motion.
Thank you.
In fact, discourage, I would say, should be stopped. And what we should do to grow our economy, Madam Speaker, is to see how these factories can be rehabilitated so that they continue to recruit, employ our people, and this would have a ripple effect in growing the economies of this region. Madam Speaker, branding the sugar for sugar that has been imported must stop. Until we are satisfied as a country that our sugar factories are not able to produce enough sugar to supply enough sugar for the people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, when Mumia's sugar company was closed and Mumia's town became a ghost town, go to any supermarket and you would find Mumia's sugar on the shelves of the supermarkets here in Nairobi, in the supermarkets in Kisumu, in the supermarkets in Kakamega, and yet branded as sugar from Mumia's company. And yet the company was not working. These are the things that we must stop, Madam Speaker. Going forward, I know that there is an effort to rehabilitate, to put them up, but before that, yes, a little can be allowed, but within controls. A little can be allowed, but within control. But don't brand. At least there should be a mechanism with which those that are being branded and are not from the sugar company, something must be done, which I am yet to understand what exactly we are going to be doing to make sure that this sugar that is coming from out is clear that it does not come from our factories. Stop them completely from using the names of the sugar companies that do not operate now. Once again, I support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Honorable John Waweru, member for Dagoretti South.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. The Honorable Peter Salasia is actually now working in Parliament, Madam Speaker. And I wish this would go on record so that the people that he represents would know that he is doing exactly what they elected him to come and do. Madam Speaker, I start by congratulating the very youthful, very vibrant, and extremely intelligent Honorable Peter Salasia for bringing this motion to the floor. Madam Speaker, it was during the debate on the sugar bill that I mentioned that our affinity to sugar is pretty recent, Madam Speaker. But sugar has been in use, granulated sugar has been in use for a very long time. In fact, as long as far back as the 6th century BC, the Indians were already using granulated sugar. But this refined sugar, Madam Speaker, is pretty recent because the refined sugar came with the effort on colonialization. And I want to associate it to colonialization so that I make the point that the sugar history has been replete with incidences on record, incidences that are sweet and bitter at the same time. Madam Speaker, the history of sugar is replete with a history of exploitation, Madam Speaker, a history of racialism, a history of obesity, Madam Speaker, a history of annexing land that has been used for settlement, Madam Speaker, a history of environmental degradation. And here in Kenya, Madam Speaker, it has been a painful history of exploitation of the farmer, Madam Speaker. So any effort, Madam Speaker, that seeks to remedy the plight of the farmer should be welcome, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I speak at a time when this House has already debated a sugar bill in its own motion and passed it, Madam Speaker. Over and above that, Madam Speaker, this House, in its own motion, has done what it needs to do to ensure that if it is the deaths that are plaguing the factories that are the problem, that this House has done its bit, Madam Speaker. That, Madam Speaker, as recent as Monday this week, the President will received the instruments from this Parliament that were handed over after signing by the Speaker. Madam Speaker, these instruments were presented to the President, and these are the instruments that set in motion the setting aside of close to 200 billion Kenya shillings in debt that shall be written off. So, Madam Speaker, even as we debate this motion, I'm urging the Honorable Peter Salasia to go and tell his people that collegiately this House has done what it needs to do. That this House is in support of his thinking, Madam Speaker. That this House unanimously across the different aisles, Madam Speaker, is in agreement with what he is asking for his people. So, Madam Speaker, I wanted to put it on record that this House is not sitting on its laurels looking at farmers wallowing in poverty while it is doing nothing. This House is doing what it needs to do at a time such as this. Madam Speaker, in the sugar bill that we passed, there was one critical issue that needs to be reported to the sugar belt. It was the issue on how they shall ring fence the land they use for farming sugar. After ring fencing the land, Madam Speaker, they ought to adopt modern practices in farming, Madam Speaker, so that we can have a crop that matures early enough, harvested early enough, and is processed fast enough for the farmers to make money in good time. Finally, Madam Speaker, I'd like to talk about the issue of historical governance impropriety in the sugar belt, Madam Speaker. The sugar mills are being run down by individuals who have very little concern for the farmer and for the people of the area. Madam Speaker, it has to be repeated loudly from the hilltops, Madam Speaker, from the tops of the minarets and the mosques and the places everywhere in this country, Madam Speaker, that mambo ni matatu to anybody who becomes a hindrance to the benefit of farmers in this country, Madam Speaker. To them, mambo ni matatu. Madam Speaker, we've started on the sugar route. We need to do the same for cash crops like coffee in other regions, for cash crops like cotton in other regions, so that even as the sugar farmer is benefiting, if
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anything out of order? What is out of order?
Madam Speaker, because this issue is so dear to us about sugar, can we lower the minutes to 3 so that each, even if you give 1 point, because we know well, you can explain something in 1 minute and you get the point. Please, mambo ni matatu.
Honorable, called who? Member for Kisii County, you know, when a motion has started, you do not have an opportunity to limit time. That can only be done at the beginning. And since it was not done, we proceed. And now the opportunity goes to the Honorable Catherine Omanyo, member for Busia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I quickly want to support the motion because of time. What is affecting us as Kenyans is that everybody is from the point of entry where this illegal sugar is brought in is involved. So when we want to solve, we should start asking who is at the point of entry, who is among the cartel, because we see a lot of sugar labeled our local sugar companies filling the supermarket shelves, but the real industries have died. So how can the sugar companies like Mumias, being not maybe in use, but the sugar is still in sale, it's still available. So the people from the port of entry to the people who are the cartels, the big wigs in this country, who are still selling this sugar. In fact, just 2 months ago, there was a heads up, a red flag reason, because there was poisonous sugar that was not supposed to be supplied in Kenya. But it was reported that the sugar disappeared, meaning the people who are killing the sugar industries are the real locals, the Kenyans who have mastered a way of making money, even if it means killing other Kenyans for them to make billions. Then corruption and mismanagement of these institutions. There are people who are politically put or employed in our sugar companies, appointed to be CEOs in those sugar companies, but they are told what they are supposed to do there. So even if they had a heart to make the institution progress, or the institution to make the locals maybe gain from it, their hands are tied because they were appointed to make sure that someone's interest is actually looked into. Recently, when we were passing the bill here, I saw one of our members here with a sheet, one side written no, one side written yes, and as we kept on discussing about the bill, he was controlling people on the Kenya Kwanza side.
Thank you very much,
how to say, what to
Catherine
say.
Omanyo. You have
The
spoken.
farmers are the stakeholders.
Your time is up, honorable members, for this motion. Time is up. You may take your seat, Honorable Catherine Omanyo. You've done very well. I now call upon the mover to reply because time assigned for this motion has come to an end. So the Honorable Salasia.
Okay. Madam Speaker, first of all, I just want to begin by thanking the honorable members in this House. And I can tell you that for sure, the kind of the contribution that have been given by members, it's more deeper than even what like I was imagining. And I'm happy that even the honorable member of Zimba of Coast, he gave in the detail that I was really looking for, because he put it very clear that what we really exactly what we want, as much as the issue of the COMESA is there, even if it's mandatory that we have to bring in sugar, that particular company that has manufactured it, it should be indicated on that package. I think this is a very big win as a house, that it has received the major boost. And in fact, this one is also going to promote, there was that Buy Kenya, Sell Kenya, but that was brought by the previous government. So we believe that it's going to bring a very good platform whereby the people will say, let us promote our own product.
Honorable Salasia.
Yes.
You said Buy Kenya?
Sell Kenya. Ama ni gani? Oh, Buy Kenya.
I'll encourage him to close because of time.
Yes, that was just saying that one. It was just by the way. So Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. So the same principle will help us in this industry as we look forward in getting the response from the Senate on the sugar bill. And thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving us opportunity to discuss this matter in detail. And thank you so much, honorable members, for the great contribution that you have given into this motion. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I'll also encourage you to use one language when you are debating. It's important. I would like to recognize honorable members sitting in the public gallery, Teremi High School from Kabuchai constituency in Bungoma County. You are welcome to observe proceedings in the National Assembly. Honorable Salasia, I do not remember you saying that you beg to reply. Can you please do that on record?
I beg to reply. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, question to be put on this motion will be done in another sitting, as will be scheduled by the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 14, motion, policy for the provision of mental health services in all healthcare facilities.
The Honorable Mishimboko. Honorable Mishimboko is not in the House, so that motion is deferred. Next order.
Order number 15, motion, implementation of first aid training as a core subject in schools.
The Honorable Caleb Amisi. Honorable Caleb Amisi is not in the House, so that motion is also deferred. Next order.
Order number 16, motion, establishment of a national fund to support victims of gender-based violence.
This one is by the Honorable Mary Emase. Mary Emase is not in the House, so also that motion is deferred. Next order.
Order number 17, motion, action to address the recent surge in road accidents in the country.
The Honorable Naomi Wako.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Motion number 17, action to address the recent surge in road accident in the country. Aware that the National Transport and Safety Authority Act 2012 provides for the establishment of the National Transport and Safety Authority, further aware that the authority, in line with Section 4 of the Act, plays a critical role in ensuring the provision of safe, reliable, and efficient road transport services, concerned that there has been an alarming surge in road accidents in the recent past, resulting to the loss of lives, injuries, damage, and to properties. Further concerned that the authority has not effectively and fully performed its function of regulating safe and reliable transport services, especially in dealing with the public service vehicles, noting that poor maintenance of motor vehicles and lack of proper regulation are leading contributors to the marked increase in road accidents, deeply concerned that the school-going children are increasingly becoming victims of these road accidents, recognizing that it is the responsibility of the authority to ensure adhere to the road traffic rules and to establish systems and procedures for and oversee the training, testing, and licensing of drivers. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the government, through the Ministry of Roads and Transport, undertakes a comprehensive overhaul of the transportation sector to provide the proper regulation of the sector and ensure strict operationalization of the traffic regulation to provide a safer and more reliable transport sector. Madam Speaker, as you very well know, through accidents, many lives have been lost, and one life lost is one too many. Every life lost represents someone's partner, a parent, a child, a friend, and a neighbor, a colleague, and most of the time, breadwinners of the families. And we know, even as accidents happen, there are many people who live with the injuries forever, and most of the time, they suffer and the families suffer. Madam Speaker, it is only if we put this into consideration, the Kenyans who are traveling on our roads from one place to the other, then we'll be safer. If we look at what has been happening from 1st of July, on 1st of July, Saturday, 2023, 48 people killed in road accident in Lodiani, Western Kenya. Some of the people who perished are young Kenyans with bright future, and up to today, the families are struggling. Again, from January 2023 to July, if you just take that and see what has happened, more than 2,000, a total of 2,318 Kenyans have died as a result of road accident. And this has pained many people. Most of the time, we have even seen the school-going children. Madam Speaker, you remember what happened to school buses and many school-going children where they perished, and the parents are still living in that, and the pain is still with them. The CS Murkomen confessed that road accidents killed more Kenyans in 2022 than COVID-19 infection did. This should sadden each one of us. And I'm sure today, if we would have asked, who among us know the people who have perished in our villages or a relative who has lost life through road accident, then I'm sure many of us would have stood up and also confessed what has really happened. Madam Speaker, we know very well that many of even honorable members have lost lives because of this. And the situation has been worsened by the border riders. And many border riders have also lost their lives. put proper measures in place, then Kenyans will continue losing lives and Kenyans will continue mourning for their loved ones because of losing their loved ones through accidents. Madam Speaker, there are many things that can be done. There are measures that can be put in place so that we can control this, and I'm sure.
Honorable Naomi Wako, member for Marsabit, I will call upon you to stop because of time. You will have 5 minutes to continue moving your motion, and then the seconder will be called by the Speaker in another sitting. Honorable members, time is up, and the time now being 1:00 p.m., this House stands adjourned today until today, Wednesday, 11th of October, 2023 at 2:30 p.m.